Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. High income couples actually fight a lot about money, funny enough. According to one study, one third of high income couples fight once a week about money. So the truth is, Muslim high income couples actually fight a lot about many things and are not different from any other couples. They fight about money, work life balance, disconnection, and so many other things like many couples. In this video, I'll give you for free the exact 3 steps we follow with our clients for them to stop conflict in less than 30 days. And I'll give you everything for free, and I'm not asking for anything. Except that if you find it useful, please share it with the one around you, because maybe you can help them as well. I'll be giving you the exact 3 steps we are following, and I won't hide anything to you. So you can do it yourself, inshallah, and you can stop conflict in your marriage and have more connection and more peace in your life. But before presenting these 3 steps, I'll first elaborate on the 2 common mistakes most couples make regarding conflict in their marriage, and that keep them stuck and stop them to take the first action toward peace and connection in their marriage. After that, I'll explain the main theory behind marital conflict, and my claim in this video is that this theory explains 100% of every fight you had in your life, and 100% of every fight any couple in history since Adam and Hawa had in their life. This theory explains why husband and wife have fights around so many things, and can explain every single fight between husband and wife. And finally, after that, I'll explain to you the exact 3 steps we are following, and I'll give you practical, concrete steps you can take today in order to stop having conflict in a marriage following these 3 steps. It's no BS, I'll give you everything step by step, so watch until the end. I know it's a bit of a long video, but I'm giving you gold here. And I trained many dozen of coach therapists in my life, and that advanced therapeutical knowledge that I'm giving you here, I can swear that most therapists don't learn that in their whole career, which means I'm giving you for free in a very short of time, but most people don't learn in their whole life. So really stay focused, because that can be life-changing information for you. And by the way, these 3 steps that I'm giving you, they aren't actually mine, but they were crafted by a therapist named Susan Johnson, who's a leading expert in couple therapy. So I cannot take credits for that. And in my work, I usually only take what has been empirically tested. And that's the case in my channel as well. So my golden rule is I only share what is practical, tested, clinically tested, and that we are sure that are actually helping you. And really, as Muslim, we should not take anything that is not thoroughly tested, or anything that rests on weak foundations. Okay, let's start. So I'll explain 2 main mistakes I see many couple doing in their marriage, and they stop them basically to take the first step towards conflict resolution. So we need to address it, not because it's directly related to what I'll ask you to do, but more because if you don't get rid of these mistakes, you won't even take the first step, and nothing will change for you. So here is a call. That's Abdullah's call. I want you to imagine Abdullah, after a very long week working all day on his new project, he wanted to rest. So he took his car and he wanted to have a drive and have some fun time with his car. But when he was driving, Fatima, Abdullah's wife, called him, and she was very angry because he was busy all week and he didn't stay at home on the weekend. And she felt it was unfair. So they started fights on the phone. And while they were fighting on the phone, the yellow light was going to turn to the red light. But Abdullah, being angry, decided to cross the yellow light. And there was actually a bike crossing at the same time. And Abdullah saw the bike, tried to avoid the bike, and he crashed into that pillar that was actually not supposed to be here. So there was some mistakes by the construction company, and it was not supposed to be here at the first place. Here in the story that I'm telling you, you can see many causes to what happened and many things that contributed to this car accident. So the first thing would be that Abdullah was on his phone and he was not supposed to be on his phone. So here I'll write phone. Next thing is, actually, Abdullah's wife called and Fatima was angry and got into a fight while he was driving, so maybe his wife have some contribution here, so I'll write wife. The next thing is, Of course, Abdullah wasn't supposed to cross the yellow light, so I can write yellow light. And then there is the pillar. The pillar wasn't supposed to be there because there was a mistake by the company, so I can write pillar here. Now, realistically, everything played a role in this car accident, and we can say that everybody's innocent, really. And we can probably attribute some percentage of responsibility to every factors here. So Abdullah's wife has some responsibility, and the phone, Abdullah taking the phone has some responsibility, and the yellow light, the fact that Abdullah crossed the yellow light is a part of his responsibility. And the bike as well, I didn't ride the bike, but it has some responsibility, and so on and so forth, right? But sometimes couple in their marriage, they have what we call attribution bias. So what's attribution bias? It's the married couple can't see anything but the responsibility of the partner and can only attribute the cause of the problem to the partner. So when a realistic person, a normal person, will see that everything has a part in this accident and has some responsibility, what will happen is actually Abdullah won't be able to see that, and Abdullah will only see the responsibility in his wife. Same thing for his wife. Fatima won't see her responsibility. She only see the responsibility of Abdullah. And so what's happening when people have attribution bias, they only see what's a stable pattern in the partner. So they'll always blame the other partner personality, or they'll always blame the other person personal history, and so on and so forth. This attribution bias has been studied thoroughly by many experts like Norman Epstein or Donald Bocom or Neil Jacobson, and it's one of the main marriage killer. And because of that attribution bias, many people never change what need to be changed for conflict to stop because they always blame things on the other person, personality, traits, or history, and so on and so forth. That's your first enemy and the first mistakes many people do. They fell into this attribution bias. I can now present the next problem I see a lot. And that's why I call the toolbox mistake. So, I just love to read everything I can read on marriage, to watch every video I can watch on marriage, and to listen every advice I can take on marriage. Actually, I also love to take session with couple therapists just to see how they do. It's really my passion since more than 10 years. So I'm just doing that a lot. And a mistake I see a lot on YouTube and in these marriage websites is what I call the toolbox mistake. And when you really listen to their advice, it's always, always, always the same thing. They are giving you these skills, they are giving you these techniques, like it won't fix everything. And the truth is, really, from my experience and from the study I've read, which are really hundreds, maybe thousands, there is no easy fix to your marriage. It's not just a question of having some more tools or some more techniques and skills, really. And I'm not saying it never works or I'm not saying it's 100% inefficient. The thing I'm saying really is not the most effective thing, and there is many more problem with being too focused on techniques and skills. Among this problem, the first one is most people, they actually relapse when they focus too much on techniques and skills because they'll start using it, but it's not natural, so they will relapse soon after. Another problem with skills and techniques, it's easy to use when everything is okay, but as soon as there is high emotional arousal, many people actually don't use these techniques anymore, which is paradoxal because you actually need them more and must when there is this high emotional arousal in your relationship. And then the next thing is especially important for high income couples like you. It's actually you guys have a lot of mental charge. You are working a lot and you have a lot of stress and pressure. And what happens is sometimes when it's not natural, I mean, you guys are just too tired and too busy to think about using these techniques and skill. So this is why I call it the toolbox mistakes. Many people think that to solve their problems in their marriage, what they need is more skills, more techniques, like they have a toolbox, and the only problem is they are lacking some tools. And so they see the marriage therapist and the marriage counselor as someone that have a bigger toolbox than them and can provide more tools for them to be able to overcome their hardship in their marriage. So yeah, from my experience, it's BS. It's a big BS. It's not working. And yeah, I mean, if you think that you need more tools or more techniques, I think nothing will change ever in your marriage. So yeah, you can cross that idea. And really what you need is not to look after an easy fix or to look after skills and techniques. Really, that's not the point. What you want to focus on and what we want to focus on the channel is principles. So you need accurate principles around marriage that guides you in marriage and that can become natural for you and become a second nature for you and your spouse. That's what you want to focus on. And so that's why I'll show you the theory behind marriage conflict, behind every single, so that's my claim, every single marital conflict in the world actually follow that theory. And I want to say right away that for the sake of this video, I won't be too long, so I won't explain every detail of the theory, but I'll give you the basis like that you can be convinced about it and you can apply it in your life. I also want to say that my theory is based on human biology, which means it's wired in the human body. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in that manner, so it's universal. And so that's the reason why I can say 100% that these basics actually apply with all couple, all human being in the whole human history. Principle number 1, human beings have a strong need for attachment, and need for attachment is a survival need, which means when human beings are not attached to anybody and don't feel this attachment to another person, then they feel in danger, like when they don't have food or drink, or when there is a lion popping up and menacing you. And really what I'm saying here is actually not very controversial, and this theory is one of the most based theory in modern psychology. So it's very easy to find evidences, and it's more and more evidence, but I'll just give you one simple argument that inshallah will convince you. So take that baby, let's call it Mu'ad. Mu'ad just born, and Mu'ad is still a baby. And if you let baby Mu'ad like this, baby Mu'ad will get cold, or will get hot, or baby Mu'ad will be thirsty, or he will be hungry. And if nobody comes to baby Mu'ad and nobody drink or feeds or cover baby Mu'ad, what will happen? Baby Mu'ad will die. And for this reason, it's just not possible that we don't have this natural instinct of looking for attachment, which is other people's help. Because when you are born, you can't auto-regulate what's happening to you. You need co-regulation, which means you need someone to take care of you and regulate what's happening to you. So what I'm saying is everybody, every human being, first instinct of survival when they are born is need for attachment. The fact that you are here today is the proof that someone took care of your basic needs and that you looked for someone to take care of your basic needs. So we can all agree that the most basic needs in human being is attachment. Of course, there is a lot of other evidence, but it would be too long for me to provide everything. So if you want me to speak more about that, I can make another video, and I'm sure I'll be able to convince you pretty easily. But for now, let's say it's enough of an argument. So baby Mahad has a need for attachment. Okay, now I want you to think to what it implies. If you have a need for attachment, then the natural implication of that is you actually have a fear of social isolation. That's logical, just think about it. If you need attachment, so if you need social connection, secure, repeated social connection, then naturally it means you fear social isolation, which is the opposite of repeated, secure social connection. And so the truth of the matter is every single social fear actually collapses into the fear of social isolation. So you won't find any social fear in a human being that when you really think about it, it's just a kind of fear of social isolation. And really, social isolation can happen in two ways. Either you try to reach a group and you go toward a group and this group don't accept you, then it's rejection. Or you actually do nothing and then the group abandon you and it's abandonment. So you really don't have a third way, which means fear of social isolation actually divides into two types. You have fear of rejection and you have fear of abandonment. Stay with me, you'll soon understand why these two are very, very important to understand, for you to understand why you have so much fight in your marriage and how to stop this fight in your marriage. Another thing I want to specify here is that every human being have actually fear of both. So it's not possible to have someone that doesn't have fear of rejection or fear of abandonment. It's deep down instinctive, natural for every human being. So it's not just the case that people that have trauma have this kind of fear, even people that are healthy and have good mental health actually have fear of rejection and fear of abandonment. And here is the proof. Let's do a quick thought experiment. So just say one day you're just walking and you do something stupid. I don't know, just fall on the ground and I don't know, something funny, like you sleep on the ground and you try to not fall, but you actually fall much harder. And I don't know, there is a trash here and you just fall in the trash. And by accident, someone is actually clipping you and putting that on the internet. And the day after that, you have millions of people mocking you on the internet, saying things like, oh, that person is so stupid, or that person look ridiculous, and so on and so forth. You may actually want to stop living after that. And 100% you'll be traumatized by what happens, right? Because it's literally rejection from millions of people. And you can be the healthiest person on this earth. As soon as millions of people reject you, these natural instincts kick back, and you actually feel scared and traumatized and hurt. Let's give an example with the fear of abandonment. So, let's say you wake up one morning and you are on a desert island with nobody with you, and you're just alone and you need to survive, and there is absolutely nobody to help you. My guess is after 1 month, 2 months, you'll be crazy and you'll become crazy. And the reason why is because it's natural. We all have this instinct of needing someone in our life with us, needing human connection. And everybody has this fear of abandonment, even though some people have a stronger fear of rejection, it's true, and other people have a stronger fear of abandonment. So, yeah, sometimes people will prefer rejection to abandonment, and other people will prefer to be abandoned than to be rejected. Yeah, and some people do have traumatic past history, and because of that, they will have a normal fear of rejection and fear of abandonment. But what I want you to understand is everybody has a bit of this fear in them. So let's go back to our couple. So my claim here is that every single fight you had in your life and every human being had in marriage actually follows the following pattern. First, there is a stimuli, a cue, that provoke a fear reaction in the partner. So let's write stimuli cue here. And it provokes fear, reaction, and insecurity in the partner. Okay. Then that fear and insecurity actually develop into another kind of emotion. Let's write emotion here. Then this emotion provokes a reaction. Then this reaction becomes a cue and a stimuli to your partner. And then this reaction will provoke fear, reaction, and insecurity in your partner. Then same thing, this will transform into a new emotion. And this emotion will provoke a new reaction, will be a new stimuli and cue for your partner. So you have a loop, you have a cycle, a never-ending cycle of stimuli, fear, reaction, and insecurity, emotion, reaction, fear, reaction, and insecurity, emotion, stimuli and cue, and so on and so forth. Let me show you an example. Abdullah go home late from work. So let's write it. Because he come late from work, Fatima feel abandoned and unimportant. Because she feels not important, then she feels angry. And because she feels angry, she criticizes Abdullah. And because she criticizes Abdullah, Abdullah feels disrespected, which is a kind of rejection. And because Abdullah feels disrespected, Abdullah feels frustrated. And because Abdullah is frustrated, he comes late from work. So you see how this cycle is happening. And what's happening is the more it happens, more the couple grew up apart from together. The more the couple become disconnected, and the more the couple suffer from that. And so my claim here, and I say that from knowledge and experience, is that every single fight in your life, every single marriage conflict in your marriage, and other people's marriage, and my marriage, and every human being marriage, actually follow this pattern. It follow this cycle. All the time, 100%, with no exception. And so the question is how you break this cycle and what you do after you break this cycle, and that's actually the 3 steps I'll show you later on in this video. But before that, I need to tackle a last principle, very important, if you want to follow the exact same step I use to help people stop conflict in their marriage. These principles I'm showing you are derived from the seminal work of Leslie Greenberg and Jeremy Safran, which are world-leading experts on emotion. And yeah, I want to give credit. So they've made the work in 1973, but it's a foundation in the works with emotion. So it's important for you to understand this. So what Leslie Greenberg and Jeremy Safran say basically is that you have emotion. So yeah, everybody knows that you have emotion. Human beings have emotion. And what they say is emotion actually divides into two kinds of emotion. So first you have primary emotion. And really primary emotion is a direct body response, gut response to a cue, a stimuli. It's usually a deep emotion and is very hard, usually it's very sensitive, very hard to show these emotions, these primary emotions to other people. So that's the definition of primary emotion. But then you have secondary emotion. And really, secondary emotion are every emotions that is provoked by another emotion. So they actually build on this primary emotion, this primary body response you have when you have an event or a stimuli or a cue. Or they can be provoked by thoughts as well. So, sometimes your thoughts are actually provoking emotions, new emotions in you. And these secondary emotions are easy to show to other people. So it's like anger, like frustration. These are actually quite easy to show to other people. There is no shame in having anger, in having frustration. But things like sadness, things like shame even, these are shameful. We don't like people to see this. And so they are primary. Let's go to my iceberg of emotion. So here you have what's apparent here, and you have what's hidden here. So here you have really primary emotions like sadness, feeling unimportant, and usually on this emotion, new emotions are built like anger, frustration, and many more. And now you can understand better what's happening here, which is you have a stimuli, then you have a primary emotion, and then this primary emotion, because it's shameful, it becomes a secondary emotion, like anger, like frustration, like regrets, like remorse, and this kind of emotion. And this kind of emotion transforms into a reaction, which is a negative reaction because it's the consequences of this secondary emotion. And so it's a defensive response, it's a mechanism of defense to have this reaction. And that's the reason why they create more disconnection in your couple, because they are hiding your true self, your true vulnerabilities, your true sensitivities, and so on and so forth. Then, obviously, this create disconnection. So, because there is disconnection, everybody has fear of social isolation, and disconnection is the next step toward social isolation. So, it triggers a fear reaction, either fear of rejection, either fear of abandonment, and then it's a new emotion, a new stimuli, and so on and so forth. So now you can understand better what's happening in this cycle in every marriage in the world. Let me give you one more example of what's a primary emotion against a secondary emotion, because it's actually important to understand that if you want to go out of your conflict and negative cycle. So I'll give you one more example before I show you the 3 steps you need to follow to get out of this never-ending conflict with your wife/husband. Just imagine that you have a partner at work, a business partner, and that business partner, you actually respect him a lot and you like him a lot. And one day he shows up at work, see what you're doing, see your work, and say, I really think you failed at life. You are a failure. Obviously, you are very much moved by what he said, and probably you will feel sad. Maybe you will feel lame hearing what he said. And my guess is it will be very hard for you to show this emotion and to just say to that partner, when you say that, I felt sad, I felt lame. So probably what will happen, you'll have another emotion like frustration and anger, and you'll be able to show this, saying, I'm so angry at you, I'm so frustrated, I'm so, I'm in rage, you disrespected me, and so on and so forth. So these emotions that come later on, they are easy to show. Let me give you an example for the sisters here. So it can happen with your sister, for example. So your family, right? Let's say you invite your sister to come at home, and she try your cooking, and she say it's actually disgusting, you don't cook well, and you are a failure, and I always knew you were a failure, I never respected you, something like that. Probably you'll be very saddened, and you'll feel, I don't know, lame, unloved, unlovable maybe even. And these deep emotions will be hard for you to show, right? And probably you'll cover these emotions, or naturally your body will cover these emotions by other secondary emotions that are more easy to show, like anger, frustration, rage, and others. Okay, here are the 3 steps you need to follow if you want to stop conflict in marriage and find peace and connection in your marriage. And the first step is, maybe you guessed it, is to actually stop that negative cycle. Let's go back in my example. Here, you have the negative cycle, and what happened when you are in this negative cycle, every marriage, without exception, they are losing themselves in the contents, and they can't see anything beside the contents of the dispute. What do I mean by that? I'll explain to you. So, if you take this example, try to imagine what Abdullah and Fatima feel in this example. What Abdullah feel, see, and think when he see his wife criticizing him, or what Fatima feels, thinks, and sees when she sees her husband showing late from work. Probably they both think that they are fighting because of critics are being late at work, right? So probably Fatima thinks I'm simply fighting and I'm angry because my husband is being neglecting with me, and because he show up late from work, that's the reason why we are fighting. Probably Abdullah thinks he's fighting because he's being criticized and disrespected, and he feels disrespected. So probably that's the reason why they think they are fighting. The truth is, they actually don't fight because of works and critics. The reason why they fight is because of the emotion behind showing up late from works and criticizing. So every fight, without exception, are taking place because of the emotion and the function behind the content, and not the content. Actually, the content is irrelevant. And so my next claim is absolutely nobody in history actually had a fight with his wife slash her husband for the content. Every single time the content wasn't important. And the truth of the matter is, if there was no emotion and no function behind the content, they would maybe disagree, but they would not fight. That's the nuance you need to understand. They would maybe disagree, but that would not be a conflict. If it's a conflict, then there is emotion behind it and function behind the content that they simply not see. And couples, when they are stuck in this negative cycle and can only see the contents, usually what happens is it creates a false narrative. Let me write that. So I'll put it in black because it's the black part that's speaking about content. So it creates a false narrative. The narrative is that little story, this little thing you say in your head when you have this kind of fight and conflict. That's the narrative. That's the interpretation how Fatima and Abdullah make sense of this fight. And when you have negative cycle and then false narrative because of couple being stuck into content, it's always the same narrative. It's always the same story. It's a story of disengagement where you think your partner, your important person, response is a sign of disengagement. So it's actually very normal when you are in this kind of negative cycle that you think that the other person is not committed and disengaged. And it's actually logical that people create this narrative, and I want you to think about it. Because, if you take the side of Fatima, so what's happening for Fatima? Fatima only sees Abdullah secondary emotion, so she only sees his frustration, and she only sees this response, this reaction, right? And she don't see the deep sensitivities, the deep feelings, and the deep vulnerabilities of Abdullah behind these secondary emotions and these reactions. And so she don't see the emotion, but her own emotions, she sees it. She see the change. She feels it. And because it's the case, she know for a fact that she is actually engaged. But it seems that there is a lack of reciprocity here, because she see her own emotion, but it's like she can't see the real emotion of Abdullah behind, and it's like there is no emotion for Abdullah. So the only explanation is that I'm more committed and more engaged than Abdullah, and Abdullah is maybe not even engaged anymore in this relationship. So yeah, and same thing for Abdullah. Abdullah don't see that she feel unimportant, and he see anger and he see reaction, and it cover the real feelings and emotion, this primary emotion that Fatima is feeling deep down, and because of that, he can't even know that she's actually engaged, and it seems to him that maybe she don't love him anymore and she's not engaged and committed anymore like before. So this false narrative that comes from negative cycle is actually always a disengagement narrative. People think the other person is disengaged in this negative cycle. People get stuck into this false narrative. They get stuck in the contents and in this negative cycle. So how we go out of this negative cycle? What we need to do is we need to take this false narrative and we need to refute, debunk this false narrative. But you can't do it logically by trying to rationalize the other person. It's not how it works. So let me show you how it's done. So if you take back this cycle between Abdullah and Fatima, so obviously, like I told you before, you have two sides of the story. So you have the side of Fatima here, and here you have the side of Abdullah. And so, Abdullah, like we told before, he can actually only see the anger of Fatima and her critiques. So he sees the secondary emotion and he sees the reaction, but he don't have access to the insecurity and to the vulnerability, right? So what Abdullah see here is that emotion and that reaction. He only have access to these two. Same for Fatima. Fatima, she only sees these emotions, these secondary emotions, and she only sees the stimuli, but she don't see the fear and insecurity, right? And so there is a lack of transparency. They don't have access to the whole image, the whole information, and that's the reason why this false narrative is biased. So the theory of how we actually debunk this false narrative, it's Abdullah need to explain what she sees. So he need to explain these emotions she sees and these stimuli in terms of vulnerabilities. Because remember, because of the false narrative, Fatima only thinks that this happened because Abdullah is disengaged. She thinks he is frustrated and is coming late from work because he's disengaged. And Abdullah only thinks that Fatima is angry and criticizing because she's disengaged. And this is because there is a lack of transparency here. So how you refute this false narrative? Abdullah needs to explain his frustration and his reaction in terms of primary emotions. And reverse is true as well. Fatima needs to explain her secondary emotions and her reactions in terms of primary emotions. So there is this move that needs to be made. And the thing is, this false narrative people have in their heads, they actually repeat that a lot. Fights in marriage is very, very, very stressful. And because of that, people actually ruminate a lot and think a lot about it. So this false narrative become very strong. So it's not enough to explain one time. If you go back to neuroscience, actually, for an information to be remembered, you probably need to repeat it more than 10, 20 times. And it's at the very least, and we're not speaking about these kind of emotional things. So, because it's so emotional, my advice is to actually try to repeat it a lot more, and you probably need hundreds of times. And remember, we usually do it in less than 30 days when it comes to step one. Most of the time, we actually complete it after 10 days in the program. So, it can be done very quickly, but remember, we are professional. And so probably you won't be as fast as what we do. And for this reason, I would advise you to not give up and to commit to at least try to debunk this false narrative at least 1 year, 6 months, at least. If you fail, of course, if you follow everything in this video and you try very hard, maybe you can do it in less than 30 days like us, and that would be amazing, inshallah. But if it don't work, don't give up, because you're not a professional, so maybe you need more reps and more practice to be able to do it effectively, inshallah. So now that's the theory. Let me give you a practical actionable step you can take. So the first thing you want to do is you want to list all the conflicts you have with your spouse. So you have a lot of conflicts, probably, and had a lot of hurtful conflicts. So take everything and try to note it, inshallah. And for every conflict that is still hurtful, or every reoccurring conflict, things that like gridlock, perpetual gridlock issues that always come back in your relationship, try to have a conversation where you'll practice this. Then I'll give you two templates. I'll give you two templates on how you can debunk the false narrative. Usually in our agency, we have 5. So I train my team to use 5 of these, but there's 3 that you can't actually use without a therapist. But these 2 will be effective, inshallah. So let me show you. The first one is called a Touchify. This name comes from George Fowler, which is a researcher and master therapist. So I need to give credits to him, inshallah, even though I don't think he invented it. The name, maybe he invented it, but maybe not the intervention and templates, inshallah. So when you do a Touchify, you actually follow this following pattern. First, you start to name what the other person sees. Then you say, is because, and then you say the primary feeling behind. And here, let me show you, add some details on how you can go into the primary here, so you can directly quote the emotion and put the fear as well. You can put the needs. So I'll give you an example of Touchify with these 3 categories. So if you take Fatima here, so Fatima can say, for example, she can say, when you see me angry, or you think I'm angry, but it's because, and then emotion. So it can be, it's because I feel sad, or she can say it's because I'm scared of losing you. Or she can state her needs. She can say, you think I'm angry, but it's just because I need to see you here for me, and so on and so forth. So that's an example of a Touchify. Abdullah could say, for example, you see me neglecting you, but it's just because I feel you are rejecting me. Or you can say, you see me neglecting you, but it's just because I need to see that you respect me. That's how you can do a Touchify. Here, the less word is the better. So try always to find the shortest formulation. And I know it's hard, but really try to find the shortest, because what happened is human being, they have a short attention span, especially when it comes to emotion. And so they stick to emotion, and they actually stick to secondary emotion. And so if you use too much words, most of the time the other person will be distracted, and it's less impactful. I'll also want to say that I know it's very hard. That's not easy to do. That's one of the hardest thing to do in your life, probably. You will feel scared to say these kind of things at first. It's really not easy. Like I sometimes some of my clients, they are like lions. They are brave men. But I can tell you that when it comes to saying these things, they just can't. They just block, and they are scared, and it's very normal. And that's why some of them actually want some professional help and to be accompanied by professional, because it's really not easy to do. But let me tell you, there is no way around it. Really, that's just really it's just either you say that and save your marriage and your family, or you just freeze and you just fear and you just run away, and then you get divorced and you get unhappy and you destroy your whole family. There is no way around that. Okay, so I know it's very hard, and it's very beautiful at the same time. If you can do it, it's very beautiful, and it's one of the best sensation in the world. I can swear. I can swear. It's one of the best. I've lived many experiences, but I don't think I lived better experience than that. It's probably the best thing you can do besides worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with Quran and everything related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And really, that's a side note, but it's also because you have deep connection with Allah. That even when you have this worship, it's the connection that makes it special. The connection with your Lord, and of course, lillahi al-mathalul a'la. Allah is the highest, and He's the greatest. So a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is better than anything. But next to that, I would say it's this kind of connection, intimate connection in marriage, are the best sensation in the world. And if you don't have it, I mean, your money is I don't know. I mean, your money won't buy it. Basically, it won't buy something better than that. So that's the first template, Attachify. Let's show you the next template, which is reformulate. So it's very close, but it's a bit different. So basically, you say it's not. You negating the first thing. It's not. Plus what the other person see, and then it's, and then primary. And here again, primary can be emotion, it can be fear, it can be needs. So let me show you an example for Fatima. So Fatima can say here, it's not anger. So it's not, he sees anger, so it's not anger, it's love. I made it very simple, but you can obviously put more details into it. So you can say, it's not that I am angry, it's that I need to see that you love me. All these kind of things. So here are two templates you can use. So remember, step one, what you can do is first list all conflicts, then use attachify and formulate to just debunk the false narrative. And you need to repeat. It's not something you do. It's not magic. Just say this and everything is resolved. No, you need to repeat that quite a lot until the narrative is broken. Actually, the reason why we can do it in 10 days is because you use techniques. Which has, I'm not sure I can give it that to you because it's very impractical. I don't see how we can implement that without a third person. But you need repetition really. Some people will take more time. So really, you need to repeat this and repeat this attachif and reformulate until the narrative, the false narrative, is broken, and people see the cycle. And usually, you have 3 signs that you completed the first step. So the 3 signs are: first, people are not stuck into this false narrative, so they don't see disengagement anymore, and they understand engagement. The other sign will be that you have reduction in conflict. So usually you don't have conflict anymore, like very few conflicts or even no conflicts anymore. And the last sign will be that you'll be able, in instances where usually you fight and you have conflict, you'll be able to see the cycle. So when you have these signs, and it's just not you, it's your partner as well. So when your partner say things like, okay, I used to think you are disengaged, but now I understand that you are, and quote, primary emotions, these kind of things are heavy signs that the first step is completed and that you can go to the second step. Now, step 2. So at this point, you don't have negative cycle anymore, and life is way more easier and way better. But usually, you don't have so much toxicity and negativity anymore, but it's still lacking a bit of positivity. So it's like there is an empty space left by the negative cycle disappearing or reducing. And that's actually bad. Why? Because nature hates emptiness. And what happens if you let it like this, and if you let this emptiness, at some point the negative cycle will go back. And also, we need to be mindful of the fact that there is a shaitan, and obviously these negative cycles are created by shaitan. And when shaitan see emptiness, he see an opportunity to just try to revive this negative cycle. So you need step 2, which is creating a new positive cycle. You need to fill this gap and emptiness and empty space with new positive cycle. And so you had negative cycle. Remember, negative cycle is reaction that provoke insecurity and bad emotion, that create bad reaction, that create more insecurities and bad emotions and more distance and disconnection. So the new positive cycle would be the opposite. It would be this kind of reaction that creates good emotion and connection, and this good emotion and connection will create more positive reaction, and so on and so forth. And so this negative cycle, you can just let it be, and it will grow until it become massive, and until it splits couple and people divorce. And really, a positive cycle is the opposite. It's like a fruit tree. You can just let it be, and it will grow, and it will give you amazing fruits, inshallah. So that's what it is. And so you need that, because when you have that in your relationship and it grows and it becomes mature enough, then it becomes natural, and it's not an effort anymore. And so you can change your relation forever. I insist on that. You can change your relation forever. So you need positive cycle in order to be sure that you don't have any relapse and that it becomes natural for your relationship. So yeah, how do we build this positive cycle? Let's go back to our iceberg of emotion. So actually here, there was something I purposefully let and didn't explain here in that theory of emotion. And so you understand that you have primary emotions, so people don't see it, it's hidden, and you have negative, you have secondary emotion, and people can see it, and it's built on primary emotions. And the thing I didn't explain to you on the left is actually you have level of primary emotions. So on the bit of the surface here, you have sadness and feeling unimportant and these kind of related emotions here, but actually deep down you have more emotion, and more primary emotions. Of course, here it's not exhaustive, so I can write etc. etc. You have many more, right? I'm just give you a few examples for you to understand, but you have many more, inshallah. So yeah, so here, deep down, you have actually something that is called negative view of self. And another name for this is this own part of yourself. So let me explain it to you. So negative view of self are these things, this part of yourself you are not so sure about, that you maybe hate or dislike very much. And it's sometimes called this own part of yourself because usually this part, you actually forget about it. You try to not see it, and sometimes you don't even notice them. But the truth is, everybody, even the most confident people, and even people that have very good mental health, they have this negative view of self, and this is this own part of themselves. Sometimes it's not a big thing, but it's always present. You always have some sort of insecurity and some sort of things about yourself that maybe you hate or maybe you're not even so sure. And it can be to different degrees, of course, but it's present in every people in this world. And yeah, that's the most primary thing you can have. Like you don't even see it anymore, and yeah, you just hate it. You feel you will die if anybody would see these kind of things. So it's very, very primary. It's very shameful. It's very hard for um, other people to. It's very hard to welcome other people and let them see these kind of things. And it's also influencing these less primary emotions, by the way. And I won't develop that in this video, but yeah, this negative view of self is actually uh, one of the components of these less primary emotions, and therefore this secondary emotion. And so what you need to do if you want to create a positive cycle, let's go back to our cycle. So remember, you need stimuli that can create a positive emotion, that can create a positive reaction, and that can become sustainable like a wheel or like a cycle, right? So these stimuli you need in this situation is a bonding moment. So what's a bonding moment? A bonding moment is a time of deep, deep, deep connection. It's a time where you are way more connected than in the first step, where you just speak about these primary emotions. Now you need to go into this deep negative view of self and this own part of yourself to create these bonding moments. And yeah, that's a bit tough to do because many people, they don't even have the introspection done to even see these kind of things. But yeah, the first step is to analyze what are these negative view of yourself, and you need a lot of introspection, and you need to a lot of congruence as well, and self acceptance. But yeah, that's the first step. You need to actually know what are these insecurities, the deep down negative view of self. But once you know it, then you need to share it, and I'll show you the templates to do that, inshallah. First, what you want to do is to start with the negative view of self. Then you want to add needs related to this negative view of selves. So yeah, every time you have a negative view of self, you have a need attached to it, and you can imply a need from this negative view of self, and I'll show you. It's very logical and easy, inshallah. And then you can ask, so a request to your partner to actually be there and help you. So ask. And so let me show you an example with Abdullah and Fatima. So let's say Abdullah deep down, he feels like he's a failure and he don't like himself and he's not proud of himself. So that's a negative view of self. So he could say to Fatima, he say, you know, I actually don't like me and I need someone to show me that I'm lovable. Can you love me? So that's a bonding moment. That's what it looks like. And obviously, you can't have that if you have a negative cycle and if you are in this conflict. That's why it's step 2, and you need to wait that you have no negative cycle anymore to be able to do that. Regarding Fatima, let's say she feels like she's too much. So she could say to Abdullah, you know, Abdullah, I'm always felt like I'm too much, and I need someone to show I'm accepted and I'm okay. So can you be that person for me? So that would be an example. And I want to insist on the fact that these bonding moments only works if the other person accepts it. So if you say that, but the other person refuses to help you and to be there for you, what happens is the opposite. You actually make things worse, and you can provoke a deep, dangerous psychological disorder in your partner, and it can be even more. It can be worse than that. So please, if you're not comfortable to do that by yourself, ask professional to help you, because we are trained to do it, and we know how to do it in a safe manner, and we know how to be sure that you guys are ready to do it. But if you feel like you can do it by yourself, do it, inshallah, and you need this moment, inshallah. But make sure this is stopped. So remember, you have three cue that you don't have negative cycle anymore, so you don't think in terms of narrative, and you're not stuck in that narrative where you think the other person is disengaged anymore. Then you have less conflict, and you're able to see the cycle. So yeah, if you have these signs, I would, yeah, you would be able to go into these bonding moments, but be careful because it can be dangerous. And so the question is how many times you need to do it in order for it to be effective. Yeah, I would, for step 2, I would recommend 2-3 times per person until you have a positive cycle. So if you are able to do that exercise 2 or 3 times, and you may laugh and think, oh, it's easy. No, it's not. It's one of the most difficult things in the world. I've seen strong men, very strong men and strong women not being able to do it, really. So it's hard, and if you do it 2-3 times, it may be hard for you. But if you successfully do it, then congratulations. I think step 2 is done, and then you can go to step 3. And step 3 is integration. So you just need to integrate it. What it means you just need to try to apply this positive cycle to different contexts, to different emotions. That's actually the moment you can bring back the content and see how the content apply to these new positive cycles. So in different contexts, I don't know, in dates, in sex, in family gathering, and in try to use this in a lot of different contexts. Usually in therapy sessions, we actually spam it, so we just do it a lot. And really the goal here is to make it bigger, because at this stage, in step 2, you have a positive cycle, but it's still small, so you don't take a lot of space in your relationship, so you need a bigger positive cycle. And how you do it, you just integrate it and use it in many, you train, basically, you spam it until it becomes large, and very large, and then when it's done, it's good. It's like a tree, right? So at the beginning, you need to water the tree a lot until it can become bigger, and if you don't do it, then it will die, and you need a new tree. So that's the same thing. You need to water it a lot until it becomes big, and then the rainfall will be enough, inshallah, for your tree to live, inshallah. Okay, so congratulations. If you followed all the steps we covered here, probably your couple will be fine, inshallah, and you won't have to worry about conflict in your marriage anymore, inshallah. So what I want you to do right now, inshallah, for everything to change. The first thing, I want you to share this video to your partner, like that he's aware of what's happening and he can change things with you, inshallah. So I want you to share this video with your partner and insist. You need to insist and say, you must watch that. Watch it. Then take the first step and start to remove this negative cycle, list all the conflicts, and use Touchify and reformulate to just get rid of the false narrative and follow all the steps we covered in this video. Thanks for watching me, and may Allah help you. And please, if you like the video, please write a comment and share what you thought about the video. And if you have any idea you want me to cover in the future, any topic you want me to cover and explain, please share comments. Like that, I'll be aware and I'll be able to create a video that help you. So guys, help me to help you, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.